Assalamu alaikum again. I'm just going to wait for to participate again. Okay, I'm going to continue now. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we were talking about the birth of Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. Moving on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then mentions he then says to Maryam alayhi salam, فَكُلِي وَاشْرَبِي وَقَرِّي عَيْنًا فَإِمَّا تَرَيِنَّ مِنَ الْبَشَرِ أَحَدًا فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ نُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنسِيًّا. So eat and drink and cool your eyes. And if you see any human being, say to him or her, I have vowed a fast of silence. I have vowed a fast of silence. In the time of Isa alayhi salatu wassalam, the Islamic ruling was that when a person fasted, they were not allowed to talk as well. They were not allowed to eat or drink, and they were not allowed to talk as well. So it's basically been made much easier in our ummah that when we fast, we are allowed to talk, but not eat and drink. Allah has made the Sharia much easier in our time. I mean, in the time of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, if an impurity were to touch the clothing, then it wouldn't become clean just by washing it. They had to cut that part of the cloth in order to purify the clothing. So it's much easier in our time. Okay. So Maryam salam took shade with the date palm tree, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed a stream beneath her so she could eat and drink if she needed food. That was the provision that was made. So these again, they were miracles of Allah Ta'ala, that a date palm is a very firm tree and no one which can, not one that can be easily shaken. Maryam Islam was told that if you see anyone, then tell them you have vowed a fast of silence, so you will not speak to anyone today. Oh, sorry about that. Just a minute. There we are. Okay, so Maryam Islam was not to speak to people, but to point to the child. That is mentioned in the Quran Kareem. So she now gave birth to Isa alayhi salam and came to her people carrying the child. When they questioned her about the child, she pointed towards the baby. They said, how can we speak to someone who is yet a child in the cradle? But by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the miracle of Isa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam spoke in the cradle. What did he say? He said, Inni Abdullah, Atani al-Kitab wa ja'alani nabiyya. That I am the servant of Allah. He further said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him a book and made him a prophet, and he has made me a blessed wherever he may be, and enjoined upon me zakat and charity as long as I remain alive. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Isa alayhi salam talk in the cradle, and again this is a complete miracle. So the difference between Islamic and Christian beliefs regarding the birth of Isa alayhi salam is there's no mention of Joseph, who in Christianity was in contact with Maryam Islam. The birth of Isa alayhi salam was miraculous, but he only had a mother. There's no mention of the three wise men. There's no mention of following the star. There's no mention of birth in a mango or stable. So that's the kind of end of part one. So some quick questions before we carry on. Let's see now. Okay, so can somebody give me a quick answer? Why is Isa alayhi salam important in Islam? Why is he important in Islam? If you just type your answer and we'll have a look. Because he's a prophet, exactly. So what does he make? What makes him special, more special than other prophets? He will come down and fight the Dajjal. True, yes. We'll cover that in a moment. He will kill the Dajjal, that's right. Okay. And he will be resurrected, correct. Okay. And also the fact that he was a prophet, and because the Christians believe that he was the son of God, he has more significance, because we need to understand that he was not the son of God. That's why he and Maryam have been mentioned many times in the Quranic Kareem, and his birth was a miracle. Well done. Okay. What was the name of the grandfather of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam? What was the name of his grandfather? Imran. Very good. Okay. Very good. Okay. Who was the uncle of Zakaria alayhi salam? Who was the uncle of who was the uncle of Maryam alayhi salam? Zakaria alayhi salam. Well done. Okay. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to carry on. Now the next part I actually have is regarding Easter. But that's not something I'd like to cover. So I'm going to head down to the resurrection of Isa alayhi salam. So anyway, to cut the story short, Isa alayhi salam, according to the Christian tradition, what basically happened was Isa alayhi salam was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sorry about this, just a minute. What's going on here? Right, okay, apologies about that. So Isa alayhi salam, he was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he will be lifted to paradise. He will be lifted to paradise. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after he told Isa alayhi salam, he gathered his disciples and he told them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will lift me to the heavens because the Romans will be coming to murder me. So he asked the disciples, is there anybody who would like to take my place? And in return, they will be given paradise. According to Allama ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi, the disciple that actually was chosen, well, not chosen, he volunteered. His name was Sarjas. They actually drew lots to see, who would actually volunteer. But the youngest of the disciples, whose name was Sarjas, he volunteered. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then did was his face was then made into the face, so that it resembled the face of Isa alayhi salam. So when the Romans entered, they thought that Sarjas was Isa alayhi salam, but in actual fact, Isa alayhi salam had been taken to the heavens. There is a tradition that says that Judas, who was a person who knew the face of Isa alayhi salam, he actually he went to the Romans and he said that, if you give me a certain amount of money, I shall show you who Isa alayhi salam is. So he was given, according to a tradition, he was given 30 dirhams. He went inside the house and he kissed the forehead of Isa alayhi salam, and that's how the Romans found out. They arrested him, they put him on trial, and according to the Christians, they crucified him. But in actual fact, they did not crucify Isa alayhi salam, they crucified one of his disciples. In the Christian tradition, they believe that he was crucified, he was then resurrected, and he came back to life, and will come back down to earth before the end of days. But we believe that he has not died yet. So what does Islam say about the death of Isa alayhi salam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O Isa, I am to make you in full and to raise you towards myself and to cleanse you of those who disbelieve and to place those who follow you above those who disbelieve up to the day of doom. So this Quranic ayat actually refers to the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised Hazrat Isa alayhi salam to the heavens, and he did not die a normal death. He was raised at the age of 33 years old, and he shall also come down at the age of 33 years old. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions very clearly, just in case somebody has a doubt, was Isa alayhi salam crucified? So Allah ta'ala says, وَقَوْلِهِمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا الْمَسِيحَ عِيسَى بْنَ مَرْيَمَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ. They did not kill him, they did not murder him. وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. They did not crucify him. وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. Now that could mean either that they were deluded by his resemblance, because the resemblance was on another disciple of Isa alayhi salam, or they were put in doubt. وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ. Allah Ta'ala says that they have doubt. There are, a lot of people have doubts regarding his crucifixion. مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. But then Allah Ta'ala says very clearly that he was definitely not killed. And hence we believe that Isa alayhi salam is not the son of God, and before the day of resurrection he'll come down back to earth. So Isa alayhi salam was not crucified, but somebody who looked like he was crucified. There are two opinions mentioned in Ibn Kathir. A young disciple volunteered to look like Isa alayhi salam and took his place. Judas was the one who betrayed Isa alayhi salam, and because of him, the person who looked like Isa alayhi salam was crucified in his place. So to summarize, we do not believe that Isa alayhi salam is the God, neither he's the son of God, he's not the part of the Trinity. He was a great prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had a miraculous conception without a father. He was given many miracles. Isa alayhi salam had the ability of curing the leper. The leper are those people who have the sickness of leprosy. People who have leprosy, there's no cure for that. Despite that, Isa alayhi salam had the power of curing the leper. Also, he had a miracle of making birds out of clay, and those birds he could then bring to life. He could bring to life by the hukam and by the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also, he could also raise the dead. There's a story regarding Isa alayhi salam that once he was passing by the graveyard, and he was told by somebody, to show him a miracle. So he then made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said, Qum bi idnillah, stand up with the power of Allah ta'ala, with the order of Allah ta'ala. So this dead person woke up, and the person that woke up, his name was Sam ibn Nuh. This was the son of Nuh alayhi salam. The son of Nuh alayhi salam. And one of the things that Sam, so in English you would say Sam, mentioned was that I've been dead for thousands of years, but I can still feel the pain of death in my body. So, I mean, death is a totally different subject, but that also shows that Isa alayhi was given the miracle of bringing the dead back to life as well. There is no proof that he was born on the 25th of December. According to authentic traditions, he was born somewhere near the time of summer in March. 25th of December is just a fallacy. He was not crucified, but he was raised to heaven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's alive and he will descend before the end of time. Isa alayhi salam, which we will go into detail in a few weeks' time. Isa alayhi salam will actually be, he'll come back to earth. He will be, he'll have a family. He'll perform the Hajj, and he'll be buried next to the tomb of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He won't come as a prophet, but he will come as a follower of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's 12:30. I'm going to stop the session there. Does anybody have any questions? So I'll stay on for an amount of time until we have some questions. If I have any questions, you can ask me on the chat now, please.